I'm just going to throw you up on the screen, and you are going to give us your top three. Now, the question of the day. This is where I started over on Mickey Plyler's show this morning, and the question was actually from College Football Reddit, and it was a Arkansas fan who said, "What's one game or era or situation or part of your history that you want to get rid of?" And he said, "I would love to get rid of the Bobby Petrino era and the scandal and everything." Now, that was not, necessarily a schedule or a team related thing. That was an off the field issue. There were Clemson fans in there that said they would like to erase from memory the fall brawl between South Carolina and Clemson when Yusef Kelly was holding the Clemson helmet up above his head, or the South Carolina helmet up above his head, right? I didn't really go that way. I went with actual games. So I posed this to you guys. What games, and let us know in the chat what you think as well. Get in, because I will give you your time to shine too. What are your top three games that you can remember that you wish you didn't have to remember, that you wish you could forget? Now, I'll go ahead and give you my three. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna make myself in the center just because I told everybody they were gonna do the same, so I'm gonna be in the center. Is that okay, fellas? Can you still hear me?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for me, and some of these are sentimental, but well, you know what? I really didn't even rank them like I should have. I'll say number three. Okay, Al. Number three. Al has a rule: never leave a Clemson game early. Never leave a Clemson game early. And I broke this rule once. it was 2004. I was in high school. I was with my dad's best friend's daughter, Casey Bryant. We were in the West End zone. We were watching the game, and Clemson was winning. It was Clemson versus Georgia Tech in 2004. She says, "Hey, let's go back to the tailgate and get some food, because they're going to win this game. It's like a minute left." Well, they fumble the punt under a minute to go. Clemson needs to punt on their own side of the field. They fumble the punt. Georgia Tech picks it up, and the very next play, fellas, Calvin Johnson catches a one-on-one ball in the corner of the end zone to go up and win the game. By the time I walked out of the stadium to the car, everybody was mad. And I was like, "Why are you guys mad?" "Oh, well, you didn't hear? We just lost." And I was like, "Never again, Big Al. Never again will I leave a game early," even though I probably have since then, because that was 2004. Let's be real. So number two for me is a situation where I was with Big Al. We were, I think, rafting. Correct me if I'm wrong. We were out rafting during this game. 2008. This is number two for me.
Okay.
Clemson, number 9, coming into the season. Chick-fil-A kickoff, number 9 Clemson versus number 24 Alabama. For whatever reason now, I don't know why we were rafting. We should have just quit that. We should have just canceled that and actually watched this game. But we had to watch it from like a really small TV inside the camp office. And Alabama comes out, Julio Jones, Mark Ingram versus Jamie Harper, C.J. Spiller, and Cullen Harper, by the way. But Clemson ends up getting torched in that game. Alabama wins. The only touchdown of the night, though, a 96-yard kickoff return from C.J. Spiller, the great C.J. Spiller jersey behind me. The only touchdown there. That was back in the day when Clemson thought that they were there, when we thought that they had made it finally. And then at the very beginning of the season, got a rude awakening. All right, and then my number one, Big Al, this goes back with, in Houston, this goes back with a C.J. Spiller, my favorite player. ACC championship game, 2009. C.J. Spiller has 233 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, 11.7 yards per carry, and they lose.
Yeah.
And Kyle Parker goes 10 for 17 with 91 yards and 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. And they lose the ACC championship game. And the reason why it really hurt me, fellas, is because that was CJ's senior year, and he came back, and they didn't do it. They couldn't get over the hump and win the ACC championship game. I was in tears after that game. It was heartbreaking for me. My favorite player, I wanted to see him finish out on top and win the ACC championship, and he just couldn't do it, man. So those were my three. What do you guys think? Give me your assessment so far.
I mean, I think it's a solid list. Solid list. Are we limited to just? By the way, are we limited to just football?
I think that was the point, but he didn't say that.
There's a specific moment for Clemson baseball that I think Al might be picking up that I'm putting down, but I can, you know.
Not the time.
Big Al's face is just pure, utter disgust right now.
Not the
moment, really. But,
all right. So Houston, go ahead and give us your honorable mention baseball game. Tell us your honorable mention baseball game and take it away. Your top three.
Game 2, Omaha, 2010 would be honorable mention if we're not doing that. Or you can say 2002, honorable mention in Omaha, South Carolina. Or you can say 2006, a bogus loss to Cal State Fullerton against the best team Clemson arguably has ever had in baseball. So, look, I'm gonna pull these out because these are the ones that made me the most angry, like just belligerently angry. Some of these are from early on. I see some people putting games from like anywhere from 2015 on. Don't count those. Like, you don't realize how good you got it until you've lived through the West years or the Bowden years and the early part of the Dabo years. I would say number 3, this needs to be mentioned because I wrote about this on rubbingtherock.com. I also wrote about the one that Morgan mentioned in 2004. I was at that game. Calvin Johnson caught that pass right in front of my face. I was so mad. And I could make a laundry list of other games that I was pretty ticked at. But the first one I remember just viscerally having my guts ripped out over was in 2000. It's Halloween weekend. All right. Clemson is playing upstart Georgia Tech. I couldn't stand Georgia Tech already because I knew they'd won a couple times against Clemson, and I wanted to see Clemson win one. And it looked like Clemson was going to win. All right, Willie Simmons comes in off the bench to spell Woody Dantzler after Woody Dantzler got hurt. Clemson takes a 28-24 lead with about a minute and a half. And it's like, all you got to do is hold them out. It's 28-24. The defense is playing well. They're going to go to 9-0. Game day is going to be in Tallahassee the next week for a top 5 matchup. And right before the end of the game, Charles Hafney drops a game-winning interception that would beat Georgia Tech. And no sooner than 2 plays later, George Godsey hits Kelly Watkins in the back of the end zone for a one-handed catch with 6 seconds left. Georgia Tech wins 31-28, and I was done. I was 10, and I was done. I couldn't handle it. I was viscerally angry, tears just welling out. I still hate George Godsey to this day. He might be a great guy, but I hate him because he did that. So I don't care. Number 2. This was the year after I graduated college. I spent way too much money on this ticket. It was not a great day to begin with. There was a lot of stuff going on that day wasn't good. It was a rough spot in life. But I was like, I'm going to go to this game, dadgummit. I'm going to get in. I don't care how much money, how much of my little bit of life savings I got left. I'm going to buy this overpriced ticket to see Florida State in 2013. That's the game. Clemson's going to the Rose Bowl. Clemson's going to win the national championship this year. Taj is going to ball out. We're going to beat South Carolina this year. Like this is how it's going to happen. And it was just dead silent from the time that Taj Clemson was down 10-0. You're like, all right, they're going to come back. It's all right. And then once he fumbled the ball, it was game over. And that's kind of the only time probably since like I was 10 or 11 remember seeing Clemson getting just handled at home, and he just couldn't do anything about it. I was so mad. Like, I couldn't speak for, like, a couple days. I was just so mad. But the maddest I've ever been in my life. And I always say that I hand up I was an anti-Dabo guy for a long time because of one thing that he couldn't do, and it lasted for a long time. I'm the only one out of my brothers that never beat South Carolina in college. Now I got him back. I had 3-0 in my grad school program, but as an undergrad, I was 0-4. And I've never been more mad than the night that Connor Shaw got hurt and Dylan Stinkin' Thompson came into Death Valley and just unbelievably pulled one out, and South Carolina won 27-17. I was furious. I was on the hill that night. I didn't want to sit on the hill, but the friend group that I was didn't get in a line for tickets. I was already mad. I was like, hey, it's going to be all good. Clemson's going to win tonight. They don't have Connor Shaw. They're weak, and we as fans can watch this, and I'm going to go out a winner in my senior year and see them finally win at home. Man, this is awesome. And it didn't happen. And for the next couple of years, I was just like, I don't care what. Like, I didn't care that they won the Peach Bowl. Didn't care that they won the Orange Bowl the next year. Didn't care about any of that because they lost to South Carolina. Now, I have since been proven greatly wrong, and I've shut my mouth on any of that, and I give Dabo the benefit of the doubt. He knows what he's doing. But at the time, as a young, impressionable, idiotic 22-year-old, I was ready to just get the pink slip ready and just let's move on. Get Lane Kiffin. I want Lane Kiffin. I was one of those.
Well, you know what? I remember saying that too. I cannot confirm nor deny that I didn't also mention that coach's name. I'm glad I didn't because, things turned out better for sure. A lot of people getting in chat talking about Florida State. And guys, I was on the field when Jameis Winston destroyed them in 2013. I was standing with the ROTC. Yep. My buddy was honored at halftime, and I was there with him, and I took a photo of him while he was there, took video and everything. We stayed there before the game. It was College game day. It was supposed to be Heisman versus Heisman candidate, and Mario Williams picked up a fumble and almost ran over me in the end zone. And then it was just over from there. I mean, I think Clemson went out 3 straight plays or something and fumbled or turned it over. Like, it was a horrible beatdown, like 53-17 or
41-14.
Oh my God. I don't even want to, that one really truly is probably my number one because I was so jacked before the game and the crowd was so loud. And then fellas, it was like, you could hear a pin drop, man. Like, and I had a headache because I was, screaming so much before the game and during the run down the hill. And then it was like, oh, but anyways. All right, Al, now it's up to you. The highlight of the show to tell us where we're wrong or right, or at least give us the correct top 3.
So you're certainly wrong because your number 1 is not even on your list. So, I will tell you this: you don't have a bad list. As a matter of fact, I thought about the Georgia Tech game, the championship game you were talking about, and Morgan, I didn't put it on there because that was such a good game. I mean, a lot of people would put it on there because it was so brutal a loss. But man, it was such a good game. It was back and forth. I remember at the very end thinking, gosh, we cannot stop them. They are running out the clock. Let them score. Please let them score. They finally did, but it was way too late. They did it way too late, and they tried to make a little miracle run down the field. It just didn't happen. But that was a good game. Houston's list, much better. You're gonna hear some repeat from me as well. I do think, however, the one that didn't make it as my number 3 was going to be Alabama, the game that you mentioned in 08. When we started off the season, we were at rafting. We watched in the office, like you said. That went number 4, and there's a reason it was number 4. This was a difficult list to make, and it's because there's a lot of games you wish you could have back, you wish you could forget. But Houston, I have 2 of Houston's on my list, and my number 3 was the South Carolina game in 2012. So this was a funny story because, I was going to the game. My buddy Marty was not going to the game. He had a cruise he was going on with his family. And I was like, dude, They beat us 3 years in a row. We're going to beat them this year. We're a better team. He's like, I know, but I have to go to this cruise. We couldn't get it worked out. Finally, he said, you know what? I'm coming. I'm coming to the game, but here's the key. You've got to drive me to the Atlanta airport after it's done. I was like, dude, got you. Let's do this because we have to see this victory in Death Valley together. So we go to the game. It does not turn out like we had hoped it was going to turn out. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that's the year. I mean, they had a nasty defense. I'm pretty sure that's the year they had, whether it was Swearinger or Hampton or whoever, drilled Ellington and flexed over him. 27-17. It was just brutal. And not only that, after that game, I have to get in the car at midnight and drive Marty to the Atlanta airport with my wife, and it was absolutely awful. The car was awful. The ride was awful. We were expecting great conversation, and there was just none to be had. So that was my number 3. Number 2, and this is one that I was a little intrigued that neither one of you had this on your list. Maybe it was because Houston might have been a little bit younger for this one, so it might not have been a big deal. I was 16. UGA 2003.
Oh no, that's on the honorable mention list. Honorable mention list. Don't worry.
This was terrible. And Morgan, it involves camping again because we were camping. Circle J campground.
Oh, now I remember this one. Now I remember.
Yeah, of course you remember this. Everybody remembers this. They don't want to remember it, but they remember it. And we're sitting there rafting, and my Uncle Butch, comes up and he's like, "Dude, I'm going to this game. Clemson's playing Georgia. We haven't done this. Let's do this. They're coming to the Valley. Let's go." Said, "Giddy up. Sign me up. I can't wait." So we left rafting, went to this game. It's 1,000,000 degrees. I don't care what the thermometer says, 1,000,000 degrees. It was absolutely unbelievable. We get in there. We cannot do anything. 30-0, an absolute bludgeoning by, of all people, the Georgia Bulldogs. It was one of my least favorite games of all time, only topped by one, which was on Houston's list as well. The FSU game, 2013. I mean, game day, raucous environment, unbelievable. 6-0. We've already beat UGA. We're ready to go on to bigger and better things this year. This is the year, maybe, just maybe, we can compete for that national championship. And if I'm not mistaken, it might have been the first play. Taj Boyd throws like a 10 or 15-yard slant to Stanton secondary. He gets drilled, loses the ball.
Yeah.
Right from the start. And, man, it didn't get any better from there. And even me, I contemplated leaving that game. I'm sitting there on one of the front rows, and I'm like, do I really have to stay here? You know what? I have to stay here. That's my rule. I've got to stay. And we did score a garbage touchdown at the end, and the 6 fans that were there with me were cheering. But it was awful. It was miserable, and I hope that I never have to go through that again.
Wow. Well, Al, now I remember that Georgia game because we were rafting and then you left us. Is that how it went down?
I'm not sure if you were there on that trip or not, but yes, it was during a rafting trip, and my uncle was like, "Dude, we have to go to this game." And I said, "Giddy up, I'm in. Let's do it."
So I think what happened, I want to say, and I may be completely wrong as I usually am, but I want to say we were in a cabin and y'all were gone. No wonder. I think it was just me and Joy because everybody else was gone, and they did not have cable. So I had to go on ESPN's website, like watch ESPN, and get it through my hotspot on my phone through the computer plugged into an HDMI cable.
Ugh.
And then it like poured down raining and we lost signal for a while. It was horrible. Horrible experience.
I not to cut in, but I also feel like before we finish up that there are some honorable mentions that need to be mentioned.
Absolutely.
Right. I see everyone saying Orange Bowl.
Let's go through some of the chat real quick and see what they have, because I know they got a bunch of honorable mentions. We'll run through the chat real quick. So AU says there was a bad call on the sideline catch on that UGA game and hot air balloons there. All I remember. Matt Ryan and BC. Hey, I remember that 2007.
That's the last one.
Oh man, that was bad. That was bad. Obviously West Virginia lost, but really I think about that one and I think that was a perfect game to turn the chapter and become the dynasty, so I don't beat them up that bad about that one. But that was, by the way, the only game on TV. Let me go back to that. That was the only game on TV at the time in the country. And Clemson allowed the worst bowl loss ever. It was, I mean, what a way to lay an egg.
When you get through, I got 2 more that I want to put on there, but finish out the list. I don't see them on the list.
Entire 1998 season, except for beating the Gamecocks, lost for West Virginia. The game where Jameis Winston was suspended but still dressed out.
Ooh, yeah.
The Cal beat down in the Citrus Bowl. West Virginia's #1. The 70-point beatdown. The FSU beatdown sucked, but they usually were to good teams. Adam Humphries was a terrible turnover game.
I was there.
2002, Clemson lost to Georgia on the road, 28-31. Again, West Virginia, Syracuse at the Gator Bowl, Texas Tech in Orlando. A lot of people said that this morning about that. Honorable mention when Jameis was suspended. More West Virginia. The first 3 Gamecock losses. Again, when West Virginia beat us without Jameis Winston, who was their backup instead of Jameis Winston? It was that coach's son, wasn't it? Wasn't it the quarterback coach's son?
It was Sean McGuire.
Yeah.
Sean McGuire was one. Yeah.
Okay. Warwick Dunn, FSU, the days sucked. Any of those ones in the horrible kicker days? The UGA one where they lost the lead. Oh, and Bill gets in, says, Houston, my list of leaving baseball games early and discussed as long as my list.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a whole story about that. But
Garnett Lee says LSU winning the national championship game. That Bama game that we talked about, the Bama 2015 game. Al, I got to spend the time with you, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Aaron Kelly dropping a Boston College pass in the end zone. Oh, gosh, don't tell me that one.
That was a tough one. I mean,
Alabama game in the Georgia Dome.
They don't mention that in that game. Everybody talks about the Aaron Kelly drop pass down the sideline, and believe me, Aaron Kelly will tell you he should have caught that ball, no doubt about it. But what I remember was 3rd and 7. Matt Ryan has nowhere to go. He rolls all the way to his right. Cresden Butler, if you remember, was a cornerback back then, and he falls, from what I remember, leaving his dude wide open. Matt Ryan, 43 yards, all the way across the field, caddy corner. And that's what I remember most about that game. And I just absolutely couldn't believe it. It was a heartbreaker because we all thought we were going to the ACC championship.
He was more open than a punt returner, man. Like it was like he started off way back there, ready for that catch, man.
Yes.
Oh, AU guys says Duke games where it poured and rain and we lost. I don't remember exactly that one. Garnett Lee says, honestly, I thought we should have won if number 8 didn't fumble. Well, if you remember Garnett Lee, Jamie Harper fumbled like really early on, actually the first play, because Al, remember Dabo promised him the first handoff in the recruitment.
Yes.
Tommy Bowden did that.
Yeah,
Tommy Bowden, excuse me.
Clear about
that. Oh man, it was terrible. Absolutely awful. Because we were all excited.
Oh man.
I
Man
feel like
coverage with 5'8" Ty Hill on Calvin Johnson. Yeah, great idea there, right?
I feel like there's 3 games. Quick, I'll get this out of the way that need to be mentioned. All right. One that is underrated that no Clemson fan talks about, but I feel like set the tone for the 2001 season after 2000 and all that and all the hope was the 2001 game after 9/11 when Clemson played Virginia and lost on the last play of the game. And Clemson had the game won. They were driving down the field and Woody Dantzler fumbled. And it just everything went Virginia way, and Virginia won on the last play of the game. Number 2, 2005. That one would be the Miami game, the loudest game in Clemson history, right? That's one of those that.
Al, you were there, right?
That was the most amazing game I've ever been to. Literally the only thing bad about that was the outcome. It was such an awesome game to watch.
And I mean, that's the outcome is the part that I think I would add to the heartbreaker.
Sure,
right?
And I'm cool with that.
And then the third one, 2006, Jadine wide left against South Carolina. It was such a bonkers bullcrap game that they won. And
I tried not to bring that one up because I was in Iraq in that game, and the Armed Forces Network only played select games, and they happened to have that game on. And when I found out that game was on, I told everyone in Balad, hey, let's go to the cafeteria and let's watch this game, be there. And
Yeah.
literally had people from all over the country, service members all over watching that game. And we freaking lost. And it was like 4 a.m. too, by the way, for us, because of the time difference. It was the worst. And then everybody goes, well, you hyped up this Clemson team. Like, a lot of people didn't even know who Clemson was. And they were like, Morgan, you hyped up this Clemson team and they just lost.
Yeah. You really missed the mark there.
God.
Hey, Houston, I don't know. I'm sure you probably remember this probably even better than I do, but the Miami game, it was so unreal. It was so loud. There's clips on YouTube that you really need to check out from that game. But what I remember from that game, after we got that stop, and they take over, there's a play where I guess it was Whitehurst and Stuckey were the guys, if I'm not mistaken. And Whitehurst goes to the left. All of a sudden, I notice Stuckey is wide open. He runs like a corner to the left pylon, and the guy falls down. It was our Cresden Butler moment from against BC. The guy falls down. Whitehurst could have just walked over there and underhand tossed it to Stuckey. There's one thing only you can't do there, and that's overthrow him so he doesn't even have a chance to touch it. And he just put a little too much air under it, and it would have been the game. It was absolutely brutal, but just such a good game, and that's the only reason I didn't put it on my list. I did have one. I don't think it was the rain game this guy was talking about, but Duke in 2004. I don't know why I remember this, but I was at the YMCA. It was an away game. I was at the YMCA shooting basketball with Chris, and we somehow realized, holy crap, there's a game going on. We didn't think it was starting yet, and we're listening to the game on the radio, and this dude comes in and nails a 53-yard field goal, and we lose to friggin' Duke, 16-13. It was awful. I could not believe it.
Oh man, yeah, I remember that Duke game. Wow, Clemson has come so far, fellas, so far to be struggling against Duke, to now being like year after year winning 10 games or more is pretty awesome.
Absolutely.